Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, The Avid Peruser. So, this week I'm going to discuss another series by Olivia Wildenstein, and it is her fairy series, which is called The Lost Clan. This series consists of 4 books. The main character is a girl named Katari Price, and she goes to school in Boston, and she has to come back home to Rowan, Michigan, because her mother has just suddenly passed away. So she has to go back home and have her mother's funeral. Katari, which in the book they call her Kat. So Kat, her mom's name is Nova, and her dad's Derek. So her family runs the city's funeral home / medical examiner office, and they happen to also live on a graveyard, or the gravesite for the town. So her dad had to hire a new medical examiner to figure out how her mom died and prepare her body for burial. And so it ends up being this guy named Cruz. Kat doesn't believe her mom just died from a heart attack. So she doesn't believe that that's how she died. And then when she's preparing during the wake, she sees that her mom hasn't even been investigated by the medical examiner. She doesn't see any markings, and she's realizing that she's seeing through a glamour. So in this world, there's humans and there's supernatural people. So the supernatural community tries to stay as hidden as possible amongst the humans. So her dad's human, and Cruz ended up being a fairy. And he puts a glamour over the body so that all the humans thinks that she's been prepared. The author makes up this tribe called the Gatwa tribe. And they're a Native American tribe, they're originally human. So this tribe had an issue with fairies killing humans and controlling humans, and they prayed to their gods, and they were like, send us a way to protect the humans and other people from our tribe from these fairies. So they prayed to the Great Spirit, and the Great Spirit bestowed upon them the ability to hunt down these fairies, so they became the hunters. So the hunters have speed, they have the ability to track the fairies, like they can see through the fairies' glamour, so they can see what's truthful, and they also have the gift of the Rowan tree. So the wood from this tree is poisonous to fairies. So if you make arrows from this tree, take the blood of a hunter and put it on the arrow, it will kill fairies, poof, and they're dead. After her mom gets buried, she gets a package that comes to the door, ends up being a patch for her mom, and inside is a book called The Witching Tree. And it's a leather-bound book, and inside happened to be the ancestry of the Gatwa people, which is where she comes, or what her ancestry is. And inside is what is a fairy, what powers they have, how to kill them, how to protect yourself from a fairy, who are the hunters. And so she comes to find out that where their property is 12 hunters. So there was a war between the fairies and hunters where because the hunters were being massacred, their leader went and buried them and said, you're going to be needed for the future. So they created all these different rowan tree caskets and spread rose petals all over the bodies and preserved them for, I'm going to say 100 years. It's probably a time will come where you're going to have to open up the casket and release the hunters. So this has all been foretold, and her mom ended up being the first person to open up the casket. And we come to find out, if you open a casket and you read from the book, in order to resurrect these hunters, it's a life for a life. So her mom died, and the person inside the casket absorbed her mom's life force, and that's how they are resurrected. The summary of book 1 is Kat is discovering how her mom died. She's also recognizing the fact that she's not human, and fairies are real and hunters are real, but she's determining who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. Because then later on in the story, her best friend Blake ends up being used to resurrect a second hunter. And this second hunter is this guy called Kajika. And Kachika, when he gets resurrected, he sees Kat, and Kat happens to be the reincarnation of his wife who was murdered. Okay. So there's 3 fairies that she meets in book 1. One is Cruz, who pretends to be the medical examiner, and he is best friends to Ace. Ace is the second fairy, and he happens to be the prince of Navera, which is the fairy world or the fairy kingdom in this world. And she also meets Lily, who happens to be Ace's sister and who is the princess of the fairy kingdom Navera, and who also happens to be engaged to Cruz. So when Kat and Cruz starts hanging out, they kind of fall for each other, and then he doesn't tell her that he's engaged to this Lily broad, and marking her with what fairies have is called a tracking mark. So if you're marked by a fairy, that means you're their kill, and it also connects you with how they're feeling. So it'll blink on and off. It's like it's a light up kind of like system where it lights his hand up and her hand up if they're so they he marks her, and she doesn't realize that's what the mark is until later on when Lily comes across her, and she's like, she's seeing the mark on his hand, she's seeing the mark on her hand, and she's like, that's my fiance, like what the heck. Well, she signs it because she's mute, but so that love triangle happens. Book 2 is called The Rowan Wood Legends. Now, book 2 gets more into the history of her tribe. So she gets this book, the Witch and Tree book, and she's reading all the details, and she's realizing, okay, so I'm part hunter and I'm part fairy. It also inside the book has different spells inside of it, and it has the location of where each different hunter is buried, like their location. And it also happens to have the spell and ability to create new portals to go to Navera, the fairy world. So this book is really important. She doesn't want to let it go. Also, what fairies do to humans, they make these bargains. And the bargains, they call it gajoys. So gajoy is a favor. So if a fairy does something for you and they collect the favor, then you get like these extremely pain, you get internal pain, like your insides are eaten up if you don't repay that favor. So she ends up having a gajul with Cruz. He saves her from, I think, getting attacked by fairies. He protects her, and so she owes him. And so he's like, I want you to give or tell me the location of the book. And she's like, I thought we were friends. You're using that against me. And she goes home. The book is gone. So Cruz gives the book to their general in Navera, and they're just like, okay, the book's here. And Kat is totally, she hates fairies now. Side note. So, but she also still has this mark on her. So, in book 2, Lily has also been dealing with, Kat and Cruz's connection, because anytime her arm flashes, Cruz has to come and check on her to see if she's dying or something. And so Lily steals the book from the general, who is her father's right-hand man, and takes it and sells it to an unseelie, and to get a spell to break the bond that is on Kat's hand and separate it from Cruz's hand, so that she can get them separated, and so that Cruz will be hers once again. The end of book 2, Lily and Cruz and Ace get the spell that will take the mark off of Kat's arm or Kat's hand, and it transfers the mark from Cruz to Ace, Lily's brother. That was towards the end of book 2. Kat happens to come across Stella, and she confronts her. She finds out that Stella is actually a fairy, or she's half human, half fairy, and she decided to embrace her fairy side. So Stella was the one who stole the book, and she confronts her. She's like, I want you to give me the book back. Now, this was before Lily did the whole thing and swapped it and got it for the spell. When Stella went to throw her dust at Cat, Cat somehow was choked on it, but she also absorbed it, and she's getting like this huge neck tattoo around her throat, which hunters get when they are storing the dust from a fairy. So when fairies attack hunters, that's a way that they can protect themselves, that they can absorb their dust and hold it within their body without actually being poisoned by it. So every tattoo you see on a hunter is the dust of a fairy that they have fought with. But they don't kill fairies. That's not their goal. Their goal is to disarm fairies. So it's almost like they take their sword from them. So Kat ended up going to like this coma. She's waking up. She's got this neck tattoo. And now she also realizes that later on that she can actually activate it and use it, which is not a skill hunters are supposed to be able to have. Only fairies can use the dust as like a weapon. So she gets into the situation with Stella when Stella kidnaps her dad or holds him hostage when she comes home. And she's like, give me back my dust or I'm going to kill your father. And she's just like, I'm not going to give you the dust back so you can potentially kill me and my father once I give it to you. So she ends up cutting her father's throat and he's bleeding out on the floor. And Kat is like, or Stella's choking Kat, and Kat is trying to like get her off her. And she ends up touching the tattoo and activating it and then using that. She's using Stella's dust against her and ends up killing Stella. And so usually when a fairy dies, the dust and the tattoo disappears because there's not a mana connection. Like it no longer has a counterpart to it for it to go to. And so once the fairy's body dies, it kind of turns into dust and evaporates. So the power that you absorb when you're a fairy, it just goes with the body. But because some freak of a nature reason why, because Kat happens to be a hunter and a fairy and has not chosen sides, so she's still technically a human with both hunter and fairy abilities, she now has taken Stella's fairy dust for life, and now it's hers, so now she has the power of fairies and the power of hunters, and she's like this crazy triple threat. So after she kills Stella, she's trying to save her dad by holding the blood down and trying to like protect him, and then her arm's going crazy, but Ace can't get away, so he sends Cruz to see what's going on with Kat. And Cruz is like, what the fudge did I just walk in on? And she's like, can you please try and save my dad? He's like, oh, you're gonna owe me a favor. She's like, I don't care, I'll do anything for you to save my dad. So he's able to catch his spirit down, put it back in his body, and heal him. So her dad dies, comes back to life. Also, hunters have the ability to erase memory. So then she also calls Kajika and is like, can you please erase my dad's memory to pretend this entire night never happened? So now she kind of owes the hunter. And then so the hunter helps her and the fairy helps her to save her dad. And so that's pretty much the end of book 2, is she lost the book, killed a fairy, her powers, her hunter and her fairy powers emerge, and she's a triple threat. This is part 1 of the Lost Clan series by Olivia Wildenstein.